Hello students, hope you are safe and sound at home. We'll start our fourth chapter of history, that is Tribals, Dikus and the Vision of Golden Age. Tribals, Dikus and the Vision of a Golden Age. We'll start with the introduction. Before starting this chapter, let us understand the meaning of Dikus. Dikus term used to denote outsiders, that is Britishes or British Raj. The basic idea of this chapter is how tribals movement exist, how tribals raise their voices against the British Emperor. It began with Birsa Munda. He was born in poor family of Mundas and was the major in common tribal groups. Tribal groups lived in Chota Nagpur. Other two tribals in that area was Santhals and Orams. All these tribals, Santhals and Oram, follow the Birsa Munda wholeheartedly because they consider Birsa as a person who had the miraculous power and can cure the diseases and bringing prosperity in agriculture area. Gradually, people developed the strong faith in Birsa, who is particularly known as Birsa Munda, and believe that he is the person who can assist us to raise voice against the Britishers. Next topic is how did tribal group live? Zoom cultivation is also known as shifting cultivation. This was done in a small area, mostly in forest area. Cultivation cut the tree tops to allow sunlight to reach the ground and burn the vegetation on the land to clean it for the cultivation. They spread the ash from the firing, which contains potash, to fertilize the soil. They scattered the seed on the field instead of plowing the land and sowing the seeds. Once the crop was ready and harvested, they moved to another field. A field that had been cultivated once was left for several years. That's why it is known as shifting cultivation or zoom cultivation. Next topic is some were hunters and gatherers. Tribals group used to collect the food and hunt the animal for their survival in the forest area. It was Kond's tribal, were such a community living in forest of Odisha. They regularly went out for hunting and then divided the meat among themselves. They ate fruits and the roots collected from the forest and cooked food with oil they extracted from the seeds of the sal and mahua. The local weavers and leather workers turned to the Kond's community when they needed supplies of kusum and palash flower to color their clothes and leather. The people of Kond's community used to exchange goods, getting what they require in return for their valuable forest produce. Bigas belonged to central India. They didn't want to work for others because it was against their dignity of Bigas to become laborers. Next topic is some herded animals. Many tribals lived by herding and rearing animals who moved with their herds of cattle or sheep according to the season. When the grass in one place was exhausted, they moved to another place. Next is some took to settled cultivation. The tribals settled down in one place, they stopped moving from one place to another and started cultivation, and later on they got their right of land. Mundas belonged to Chota Nagpur. The land belonged to Klein as whole. All of them had the right on the land because chiefs and other followers, powerful men, often rented out their land instead of cultivation themselves. How did colonial rule affect tribal lives? What happened to tribal chiefs? Before the arrival of the Britishers, tribal chiefs were important people. They had economic power, administrative right, and control on territories. When Britishers came to power, tribal chiefs changed considerably and lost administrative right, economic power, and were forced to follow laws made by Britishers. What happened to the shifting cultivation? The British wanted Jhum cultivation or shifting cultivation to settle down and become peasant cultivation so it would be easy to control and administer. The British also wanted a regular revenue source for the state. Ultimately, they introduced land settlements so that they could fix the revenue demand for the state. But British effort to settle down Zoom cultivation was not very successful. Settled plough cultivation is not easy in area where there is a scarcity of water and soil is dry. Ultimately, the British had to allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. Next is forest laws and their impact. Tribals' life were connected with the forest area. The British extended their control over all the forest and declared that forests were state property. There was restriction for tribals from Britishers. They were not allowing the tribals to move from one place to another and not to collect fruits and hunt animals. Many Jhum cultivators to force to move other area in search of work and livelihood. British stopped the tribal people from living inside the forest. They faced many problems. From where the forest department gets its labor to cut down the trees for railway sleeper and transport logs. Next topic is the problem of trade. Tribal group found that traders and moneylenders were coming into the forest more often wanting to buy forest produce, offering cash loans, asking them to work for wages. In this present scenario, Hazaribagh is in Jharkhand, was an area where the Santhals reared cocoons. The traders dealing in silk sent in their agents who gave loans to the tribal people and collected cocoons. The growers were paid 3 rupee or 4 rupees for the 1,000 cocoons. Next topic is the search for work. Tribals were going far away from their home in search of work, but the condition was worst. In 19th century, tea plantation started coming up and mining became an important industry. Tribals were recruited in a large number to work the tea plantation of Assam and the coal mines of Jharkhand. A closer look. In 19th and 18th century, tribal groups in different parts of country rebelled against Dikus, that is, Britishers, moneylenders and traders. Next topic is Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda was born in 1870 in a poor family and lived in the forest of Bhonda near Chota Nagpur. He was grazing sheep, playing flute in free times and dancing in the local akhara. Because of poverty, his father had to move from one place to another looking for work. Birsa went to local missionary school and listened to the sermon of missionaries. He heard that it was possible for Mundas to attain the kingdom of heaven and regain their lost right. This is possible if they become good Christians and gave up their bad practices. Later, Birsa also spent some time with Vaishnav preacher. He wore the sacred thread and began to value the importance of purity and piety. Birsa was influenced by ideas in his growing up years. His movement was aimed at reforming tribal society. He requested Mundas to give up drinking wine, clean their villages, and stop believing in superstition. But we must remember that Birsa also turned against missionaries and Hindu landlords. In 1895, Birsa urged his followers to recover their glorious past. He used to talk about golden age, that is Satyayug, the age of truth. British officials arrested Birsa Munda in 1895. He was in jail for 2 years and Birsa was released in 1897. As soon as he came out from jail, started to support villagers. Later on, he urged villagers to target the Dikus and Europeans under the leadership of Birsa. They attacked police station, church, on the property of moneylenders and zamindars. They raised the white flag as a symbol of Birsa Raj. In 1900, Birsa Munda died of cholera and the movement was failed. However, the movement was significant in two ways. Firstly, because colonial government introduced the law so that land of the tribals could not be easier taken over by the Dikus. And secondly, tribals had such a capacity that they can protest against injustice and express their anger against colonial rule. They did in a specific way that is symbol of struggle. With this, we wind up this chapter, tribals, Dikus, and the vision of a golden age. Thank you.